There's some radical changes going on in the ministry right now that I believe are already, there is incredible energy building. There's, I think, a new focus in the ministry. We're about to have a serious advance. Now, I know it's bigger than MorningStar, but I tell you, this fall, MorningStar is going to be breaking through some barriers, big time. And there's a lot of things you're going to see, I think, that are really going to be great changes that are going to take place here. But, you know, in Hebrews 11, it says, by faith Abraham, when he was called, he obeyed by going out to a place which he was to receive for an inheritance, and he went out not knowing where he was going. You know, we have had such incredible prophetic clarity about where we're going in a lot of cases. But even with the greatest clarity, you see in part, you know in part, you prophesy in part. You can never get the whole picture. We're on a journey, all of us, in many ways. I mean, we would all like for every specific detail to be so clear that we're absolutely sure. But then you would lose the mystery, the wonder, the excitement, you know, that makes the true Christian life the greatest adventure that you can ever experience in this life. And so there's a part of it he doesn't want real clear. Even Abraham, he knew what he was looking for, but he didn't know where he was going. We too, sometimes we don't know but we know what we're looking for. The same thing he was looking for. He was looking for the city that God was building, that had foundation. We're looking for what God's doing, not what men are doing. We don't want to just build stuff. We want to be a part of what he's doing. We don't want to just get busy. We want to be about our Father's business. This is by faith he lived. He didn't live by fear. I believe we're going to have the most courageous, bold, illuminated, which you got to be the light of the world, courageous, proactive believers on the planet. That's our goal. And if any other church beats us, it's going to be a close call. We'll have holy competitions. We're going to get there before you are. We're going to do this, but we're going after God. And I believe, you know, there's a lot of, we want to see the strongest Christians on the planet raised up. And, you know, even in Daniel 11:31, it talks about the abomination of desolation being set up. The Antichrist, the ultimate evil, is supposed to be manifested on the earth. Then the next verse, it says, but those who know their God display strength and take action. They're not intimidated by any Antichrist. He who's in us is much greater than all the Antichrists who's ever lived. They need to be intimidated by us. We can see, I tell you, those who are walking by faith, they can see the ultimate evil coming in, and they're not at all intimidated. They're going to display strength and take action. And the more evil tries to come in, the more strength you're going to see and the more action. They will be proactive. They're not going to be content to sit in their pews. They're not going to be content to watch the news. They're going to make the news. And I believe that's you. I believe that's some of you. Get in the fight. We've got to get in the fight. Get engaged. Those who know their God, that's all they know how to do. True warriors run to the sound of battle, not away from it. They don't flee the action, they run to it. They live by faith, not by fear. Abraham lived by faith. He lived in the land of promise, as in a foreign land, an alien in the land of promise. You know, we're not supposed to fit in too well. We're actually called a peculiar people. Where's this pressure come from to fit in, to be accepted, to be received, to not stand out? If you're not standing out, something's wrong. If you're not being persecuted for standing out, something's wrong, according to the Word. all who desire to live godly in Christ Jesus will be persecuted. And then listen to this. It was the land of promise, but they lived as aliens, as in a foreign land, because they were seeing something much greater, much bigger. But then they lived in tents. It says dwelling in tents with Isaac and Jacob, fellow heirs of the same promise. They were very wealthy. They could have built a palace. They didn't care that much. You know why? If you dwell in the presence of the Lord, any cave can be better than any palace. It's the presence of the Lord. It's being in His will, being in His purpose, in pursuit of that city that He's building. And I think this is going to come upon us. We're going to become much more transient, much more free. I think, Christian, I think this is a time to unload a lot of the shackles that are on us called stuff. Possessions. They were willing to live in tents. I believe there are people raising them. They're going to be free to go on missions right away, and they're going to be free. There's something of this transiency where we can go. And there's something of think about the things that are entangling us. It's not about the stuff. This is a great time. As I've shared before, a lot of the reason for the economic shaking we're going through, it's the Lord judging the idols of Egypt. It's the Lord's judgment on things that have His people in bondage. And we need to get free. But let's look for that city that has foundations, whose architect and builder is God. That's why I ask you to pray another prayer. Psalm 90, verse 17. Now, prayer should not be the last thing we do. It should be the first. It's the most important thing we do. But it says Psalm 90, verse 17, do let the favor of the Lord our God be upon us. You know, we've talked, as Tommy Tenney shared with us several years ago, one moment of the favor of God is worth a lifetime of effort. And that is true. But let the favor of God, this is the better than any treasure we could have, ever. The favor of the Lord be upon us. Then He tells us how He wants this favor to come upon us. Let the favor of the Lord our God be upon us, and do confirm for us the work of our hands. Yes, confirm the work of our hands. I said a few simple prayers, as we're evaluating, which we need to do, everything we're doing in the ministry, what's bearing fruit, what's not bearing fruit, what limbs need pruning, what ones need, more attention, whatever. I prayed this prayer, asked the Lord to confirm what is His work and what we may have been distracted into doing. It has been so dramatic the way He has done that. He is so faithful to answer prayer. But don't you want that to know the work of your hands is what He's called you to do? To have that confirmation you are in the right place, you're doing His work. Pray that prayer.